Welcome to the Todd DeVoe Show, exploring the best ideas and lessons for leaders.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this great nation. And, when we start thinking about what we do in the field of emergency management, and then also just, I guess, in, regular business, it's how do we get things done? And how do we buy things? And how do, how to basically work through that? And there's some leadership questions and answers that occur when you're going through that process. And today I have Randy with me, who I got to meet in New York City at the NDEM conference, and we had some great conversations. So Randy, it's great to see you again.
Hey Todd, thanks to see you. Thanks, and it's great to see you all.
So when we think of procurement, right, it's not just filling out a purchase order and putting it in the system and getting things done. It's a little bit more of a process than that. And then when we think of disaster logistics, that's a whole nother system. How did you get involved in this side of the world?
Todd, that's a great question. So, as you may know, and we talked about in New York, that I have prior service, being a member of the National Guard for over 22 years. Firsthand, I experienced being involved with emergency management and disaster response. So that's really where it all began. But since then, after being deployed a couple of times and coming back home to Bobcat Company and Doosan Bobcat, the equipment serves this space very, very well in the response and the recovery of disasters.
And so you're working in this area, and then some of the stuff that you've been working on lately is really educating people on how to is this purchased. And that's one thing. It's not like you just take a credit card out and buy a backhoe, right? It's a different system. And then there's also rules and regulations that you have to follow when you're procuring equipment specifically for a disaster response compared to pre-disaster equipment procurement and with grants. Let's walk through that leadership funnel, if you will, on how to make these things work and to do it properly.
Sure. So, with as it relates to the procurement side of things, it all starts with the planning and the preparation, right? Making, forecasting the products and services that you might need to have when disaster does strike. Because let's face it, you can't predict when that disaster is going to happen. So it's important to have those products, in your fleet, or have access to those products, for when that disaster has happened. So some of the things that we typically talk about is what kind of contracts are you going to utilize, and which ones make the most sense for you? Does cooperative purchasing make sense? To help you plus up your equipment and the services that are needed to for that response. And some of those are such as like Sourcewell, that is a very common cooperative purchasing tool that's used in North America, that folks turn to the agencies turn to procure their products in an efficient manner that satisfies the rules and regulations, satisfies the bid process.
Excuse me. So when you're dealing with a jurisdiction or organization, how do you help them through that process so that they can actually get the equipment that they need and stay within those bounds of the rules and regulations?
Yeah, great question. So oftentimes it starts with our dealers. Here in North America, we have 1,400 or so dealers throughout North America. And oftentimes the local city or municipality or agency will reach out to our dealer network, and that's really where it starts, the discovery phase of what is going to be needed. And then once it bubbles up or boils up into the procurement office, oftentimes it becomes a question of how are they going to purchase it? Do they need to go through the bid process? And that's where we typically position some of the contracts that are commonly used, such as Sourcewell or NASPO, to satisfy that bid process, so the agency can quickly and confidently buy that piece of equipment, without having too much delay.
So when you look at some of the regulations specifically coming from FEMA, when it comes to equipment purchases, obviously during a disaster, they would rather see us rent than purchase. Do you help with that process and educating organizations how that would work as well?
Yep. So absolutely, through some of our rental partners, with with the rental of our equipment, whether it be a skid steer or compact track loader, or maybe it's a generator or a light tower from Doosan Portable Power. Um, most times our dealers have that product on hand, in their rental fleets. So first and foremost, but then secondly, we have partners such as Sunbelt and Summit Rentals, and then United Rentals are a couple that are oftentimes turned to rent our products during times of disaster.
Do you see more use of your equipment in the rental process or the purchase process?
It's definitely both. It just really depends on the application. But in the if those have if the agencies have that piece of piece of equipment in their fleet already, they'll be using it, and they're probably reaching out to purchase more, or maybe it be the attachments to coincide with a compact track loader, such as a root grapple, to ultimately help with creating freedom of movement for from debris and down trees and those types of things. But also, the rental companies would have those products as well on hand, ready to rent, um, to satisfy the response and recovery.
How has your organization positioned itself to be a leader in realistically in the small compact tractor and energy provider and light systems and stuff? I mean, you guys have a lot of cool tools, but it seems like everybody knows what a Bobcat is, right?
Everybody, yeah. So skid steer loader is, oftentimes, it's synonymous with Bobcat, right? I mean, as a leading brand, Bobcat company, we're oftentimes the first ones to be contacted, or they reach out to, when disaster strikes, or in need of a response or recovery. So they look to us first because of the reliable name, the reliable brand, and then the reliable equipment and solutions that are available. Outside of that, like we talked earlier, we nobody can plan for that disaster to happen, or exactly when. But that's where we really stand tall and stand strong. Is we want to be involved in that preparation piece to make sure you are ready. Um, you know, ensure every level of government, or agency that calls, that we're able to, provide some sort of solution to, whether it be, like I said, the compact track loaders or the skid steers. Mini excavators are common as well. But then on the Doosan Portable Power side, you have the light towers, that are used to provide emergency, lighting, so folks can work around the clock. And then ultimately the generators, right, to provide that emergency power for, maybe it's an emergency bed down situation where we have to provide power for those that are displaced, or to a job site, those types of things. So we have a dedicated sales team, a government sales team that stands ready to answer any questions and help navigate the procurement process in that planning and the preparation and that procurement stage, to make sure that we can get our products in the hands of those that need it, when they need it the most.
Let's talk about power for a minute, because I always think this is like one of those things that we forget about when we're doing our planning, and those generators are critical. And I'll tell you a funny story. So we had this when I was working for a university. We had power go out, and basically what happened was an underground cable failed at some point and the power company had to dig it up, and it actually takes a very long time for them to locate and then dig up where the power failed. And so our area was without power for just about 30 hours. And so as a college, it's all fun and games for the students until their cell phones start to die, and that's when the panic really sets in. So we were able to get a generator, a couple generators to actually help with do some other things. But it was kind of funny to see people don't think the students didn't care that the power is out until their cell phones started dying. So when you're planning for power outages, right, which we should be, right, because it could happen at any given time for any amount of time. We have issues here in California with the public safety power shutoffs, for instance, during the wildfire season. What do you suggest to people to do for planning for power outages, and what kind of generators should they plan to have, and how do they get them?
Yep. So I think the easiest way to answer it is, what we need to determine what you need to have powered, or how much you need to have powered in that initial discovery phase of providing a solution. Whether it be, do you need an entire emergency operations center that needs to be run, or do you just need a small office, that can help us determine the size of generator that might be needed. So that would be first, and then of course with the load management system, the intelligent load management system for the Doosan portable power generators. It's important to make sure that load management is discussed. If and that's available on all of our generators. And then finally, generators can be bought at the local dealers. Our government sales team, again, a dedicated team that stands ready to answer any questions to help in that discovery, in that planning phase, to make sure that we're putting the right size product to work. And then of course rental. We've mentioned our rental partners, our great rental partners that also have these products available to rent.
Excuse me. With some of your generators, though, it's not like you just grab an extension cord and just plug it in and you're good to go. There's a process between getting power from that generator to the building that you're looking at. Do you help with that process, or at least educate the purchaser on what they need to get to make it work?
Absolutely. The subsequent type accessories that are needed. Absolutely. Our dedicated sales team will help answer those questions. And the dealers, the dealers have been doing this for a long, long time. They'll stand ready to make sure that we're able to, answer those questions and the accessories that are needed to make sure it's ready to go.
So do you recommend somebody who's interested in getting, leading forward in getting generators, or at least getting spec'd out for generators, to reach out to just a local dealer, or should they reach out to you guys, or can you marry people up together?
Yeah, that's what's great. That's what's great about our team. You can have it your way, right? I mean, so we have some amazing dealers, and all the dealers are amazing. They're great. Stand ready to answer the question. But you can also call us direct. Like I said, we have a dedicated government sales team that's ready to answer those questions as well, to help guide agencies and purchasers to making sure that they have everything that's absolutely needed when it comes time to procure that product.
What's your biggest book of business? Like, where do you do your most time? Is it in the generator space, or is it in the skid steers?
Well, I'm a homegrown product of Bobcat. I come from the small town of Gwinner, North Dakota, where Bobcat all began. So majority of the time is spent in the Bobcat space, just simply because it is a much larger piece. But however, with the generators and the light towers and the portable power products, my team is ready, willing, and able to make sure that we're able to answer any questions, or do demonstrations and those types of things, whether it be Bobcat or Doosan.
I know we talked about this before because being kids. So my dad actually had a Bobcat at one point in our family's history, and my brother and I tried to flip it. That was our goal, and we never could really make it happen. Like, why are they so durable? And I mean, not why. I mean, like, it makes sense why they're durable, but like why is it so difficult to to flip it, like the design process behind it? I mean, they're super safe, right?
They're very safe, and and before I answer the question, if you look at the history of where Bobcat began, it began as and I think we talked about this in New York, was began as a tool to clean out turkey barns. Way back in the 1950s. So that's where it began, and that's where Bobcat came to life. Early on, but over the years, I mean, the product has just become more and more durable, and the stability behind the brand and the engineering. It's engineered to be tough. We coin ourselves to be one tough animal, of course, and it's designed to be reliable and durable and long lasting. And it's very difficult to it's very difficult to roll them over, I guess, unless you really honestly try. But they are very very safe pieces of equipment to operate and very easy to operate as well.
Yeah, they really are. As a teenager, we do stupid stuff, and it definitely kept us from hurting ourselves with that. That's for sure. I mean, the cool part about it, I mean, is there's for us, right? It was this compact little piece of equipment. We were able to use it to move snow. I lived in upstate New York, and to do some gardening stuff, and to do some, I don't know why my dad got it, but we had it for doing all sorts of weird things, and we had all sorts of attachments to it. But as a kid, it was a fun tinker toy to play with, for lack of a better term, for us.
Sure.
But it's definitely a durable piece of equipment. And interesting, kind of move that forward, is you're seeing even volunteer organizations that are putting these into play with debris removal. Are you seeing this tool being used more and more into that emergency response space with debris removal projects?
Absolutely. So even in the preparation stage, or excuse me, in the response, or leading up to the response and the recovery, you're seeing those products being utilized. Right up here in North Dakota, everybody's seen on the news over the years all the flooding that happens, and oftentimes you'll see our products at work, along the banks of the Red River, moving in sandbags, or creating sandbags or dikes and levees, those types of things. But and then after the fact, whether it be in the hurricanes down in the southeast, or some of the tornadoes in the last last year that happened in the southeast, our products were utilized, whether it be a skid steer or track loader or an excavator, uh, to clean up that debris, and remove the down trees and those types of things, to make sure that there's freedom of movement, or we get the power back on, and get the lights back on at home.
Now, how does that make your company feel, like, when you guys are seeing the equipment being used in that way? I mean, there has to be a little bit of pride associated with that, is there?
Yes, a very, it makes us very proud, that we can, that our brand is, oftentimes thought of first, when it comes to, um, or those that are in need that turn to us, to help, in those disasters, or in preparation, leading up to that disaster. So it's very, um, it's exciting to see, that I work with an organization, or work for an organization that stands ready to continue to be there when in the toughest of times.
So, speaking to all the emergency managers and crisis managers that are out there, what's one thing that you'd like to say to them about why they should be leaning towards you when it comes to purchasing equipment?
Well, I mean, we are the iconic brand in the industry when it comes to the compact equipment world. Um, I would just say to them that we have a dedicated team. We've got world class dealer network all across North America that stands ready to help and step in when when the time comes. Um, and then ultimately we stand behind our product. We have a very reliable team, reliable dealer network. We have a reliable product, um, and the people that we work, that work for this great organization, they're just world class. They're world class people that stand ready to serve when the time comes.
Now, when you're looking down, downrange, for instance, in the next, 10, 15, 20 years, where do you see Bobcat sitting, in the disaster space?
Well, I think we'll maintain our market leadership. And, I mean, obviously with developing new products, the new equipment that's coming down, that we innovate, the new generators, new size classes of generators, those types of things that, we're going to be right there. But some of the exciting stuff that we're working on today, like the new T7X, all electric, loader, for instance, which is it created a lot of buzz most recently. Um, you know, that itself has a spot in emergency management in tight spaces, or in places where we can't necessarily put somebody in the seat. We have the Max Control, which is another remote type system that was developed, that where you can for all those talking about those college kids that like to play video games, right? I mean, you can operate that machine from the from your iPhone. So some of those exciting pieces, our organization and its leadership has, have great vision for some of the products that are coming down, and we see ourselves being right there, and continue to be right there, to respond.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of being able to put a remote operated vehicle into harm's way, say for instance for like a chemical issue, or maybe even like a fire, like wildland fire type of stuff. That's some amazing stuff. I know there's a lot of work being done on that front, and not only is it able to help respond to those issues, it's also keeping people safe and out of harm's way. So I think that's critical.
That is very critical, and I appreciate that. Whether we need to put someone in the machine, or it needs to be operated, from afar. We know that work's still got to be done.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I not that it's necessarily the smaller vehicles, but I remember the thing I think is the most amazing to watch are the wildland firefighters who drive the big, uh, you know, big uh, bulldozers, into the fire. I'm like, that's one heck of a job that you're gonna take. Like, hey man, jump in this bulldozer and push that fire out of the way, and
Right.
keep those guys safe. That's probably better than anything else, huh?
I think you're right. And making in that wildland fire type application. I mean, you can find our products building fire breaks.
Yeah,
In those types of scenarios. So whether it's putting somebody in the seat like we discussed, or we have to operate that piece of equipment remotely.
absolutely. Yeah. Keeping people safe is always the number one rule, right?
That
Uh,
is a fact. That is a fact.
so we're getting here closer to the end of the conversation here. A couple questions I'd like to kind of get out of you, and a little of them are a little bit deeper than the other. So one is, if you could just snap your fingers and make something happen across the world as far as emergency management goes, or disaster response, what would that be?
I would say, you know, I would focus on the planning and preparation piece, right? I mean, given the current scenario in the world, coming through the pandemic, as we've discussed, and it continues to be a conversation piece, is, um, you know, make sure we have industry at the table, when it comes to your planning and preparation. If there's one thing that I think that we've learned through, the pandemic, and coming through the pandemic, is that need to make sure that we include industry at the table in that planning. So we too have to forecast, and industry has to forecast, the need that's out there. So I think the one thing is that if I could change anything today, it's, how do we get insight into the need,
Right.
and making sure that we can support that product, or excuse me, support the agencies with the products that are needed, when the time comes. So you do have them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree with you that we need to have strong public-private partnerships. And matter of fact, we're seeing more and more people leaning that way, and to bringing the private industry to the table in the planning process. And I think that's critical. How could people find you if they're looking to get more information regarding what you can provide for them and what you guys do?
Well, you can find me right here at the Todd DeVoe Show, first and foremost, right? No, uh, but um, but to answer it, and um, uh, in a way that everybody's going to understand, is our products are all over the world, all over the globe, and we have great world class dealers, all over the globe. In most of the areas that experience emergencies type situation, there's a Bobcat dealer or there's a Doosan portable power dealer right there in their backyard. And oftentimes people reach out to them first, which is absolutely fine. And then you can find us at the corporate headquarters, right? You can give us a call directly, but I'd invite you to go to our website, www.bobcat.com. Uh, we're available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. So we're there. You can find us. So with this, with the iconic brand that we are, Doosan Bobcats everywhere.
Absolutely. All right, so here's the hardest question of the day. What book, or publications do you like to read, and would you recommend to somebody who is in this space?
That is that is a tough one. That is going to be the toughest one of the day. I listen to a lot of live stream type podcasts. So I think, Todd, your show is going to be great. I've started following you, and whether it be LinkedIn, so on and so forth. I think you have some great content. Other things are, I follow things with IAEM, the International Association of Managers, the National Guard, anything, great leaders from the National Guard, as we experience some of those folks at NDEM.
Mhm.
But those are types of, those leadership type outlets, people, I like to follow and read.
Yeah, I always find it interesting to see how people consume that portion of it, because I always glean something from them, and I do appreciate that too. And there are a lot of great leadership podcasts out there as well to follow, and um, so that's always exciting stuff. All right, so here's my last question for you.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds good. I'm ready.
okay, here it is. All right, you ready for this one? So, as a leader, what are what are your tips for the people coming up behind you, and going to fill the role in the next, say, 10 years, somebody who's in college right now, or looking to get into the business industry?
Well, I think there's many. I would say, first and foremost, don't let your mind lead your heart to places that doesn't belong. First and foremost, as young people, our minds will lead us astray sometimes. But um, y- you know, great advice would be that, people coming up that may fill my role, um, is you got to be willing to sacrifice. You got to be willing to sacrifice for others. Leaders sacrifice, day in and day out, and great leaders continue to do that today. But then also there's the servant leadership portion of it, right? I mean, as leaders, we got to take care of each other. We got to take care of, the people that are coming up. We got to lead that, lend that hand, to bring people up. So you know these young folks that are coming before us. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes that, um, you know I make, and Todd, you've probably make, and you'd probably agree that, learn from those that have already made the mistakes before you, and it will make your path a lot easier as you grow into your own leadership role.
Absolutely. Yeah. Learn from my mistakes so you don't make them again. That's what I tell my students all the time. Yeah. I'm definitely a flawed when it comes to that. Randy, thank you so much for your time today. It's always a pleasure seeing you.
Todd, it's been a pleasure. I wish you and you and everyone health and wealth moving forward. So thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And, when you start taking a look at different ways of working in leadership and also through emergency management, the idea of being able to get equipment, quality equipment, and purchasing that equipment is something that you have to plan for and not just do under pressure. So we always lean forward, reach out to guys like Randy and their team to help you out with that. So until next time, please follow us on your Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and your favorite podcast player. Until next time, stay safe, stay hydrated.